presents House of a Thousand Corpses, featuring Gregg Gibbs, Bill Moseley, and Walter Phelan. Moderated by Michael Exler, and recorded live at Horror Realm 2024 in Pittsburgh.
Decided to make a video for every song on the album, and so he would get the money from the studio or the recordings Gaffin, and for one video, and then we'd end up making maybe 4 or 5 videos with the money. And one of the videos we made was an improvisation that I did as a character that we created called Dr. Satan. You can see it online. It's basically one take of me with this crazy mask on. The meat mask. Yeah, the meat mask. And then he started telling me about this idea he had for a film, and all he had was the title, which was House of a Thousand Corpses. I was like, oh, what a great title and stuff. And then Universal Studios did a Halloween haunted, whatever it's called.
What's it called?
Halloween Hunt. Anyway,
Halloween Horror Nights.
Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
And Rob got an award from Bill Moseley. And that kind of was the catalyst for House of a Thousand Corpses. We had Dr. Satan, we had the title, and then Bill came along, and Rob was just such a big fan of Bill's work as Chop Top, and wrote the role for Bill. I mean, there was no one else in mind. You never read for and that sort of developed. And he went to Universal Studios because Halloween Horror Nights, the most popular attraction was the Rob Zombie maze, which was all the videos that we had just done. So all the designs for all the videos. And then he approached Universal Studios and said, if you give me $1 million and leave me alone, I will make a movie. And it kind of grew from there because the movie eventually became about $15 million. But
really,
before we could make the film, they had to test us to see if Rob could direct, if I could create a set, and Bill could act. And we shot, do you remember that? We shot some test screens, and Bill blew the roof off the top of the house. I mean, basically, you were so great that was the reason that Universal greenlit House of a Thousand Corpses for $1 million. But then there's another story that, continues after that. But I mean, do you want to talk about what that was like? I mean, because you really sold the film.
Jeez, I wish I'd known that when it was negotiating a salary. 15 million, wait a minute, Jesus.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I heard one.
No, I heard $85. I don't know what happened. No, but I actually, I did, that was, yeah, exactly. We had Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios in Burbank, California. And they had something called the Igor Awards. And a friend of mine was the publicist for Universal Studios at that time, or at least for City Walk. And, geez, I want to start singing Bad to the Bone. Yeah.
That was my wife.
Oh, no, that's all right. Okay. So anyway, this guy called me up and said, "You're a monster, right? Like Chop Top." And I went, "Yeah, kind of." He said, "Well, we need an MC for this little horror award show that we do at Universal, and it's real." He didn't say rinky-dink, but it was basically folding chairs outdoors with a little stage, and and he said. And I said, would you like me to come as Chop Top? And he said, well, I don't know. Chop Top isn't really a Universal monster, so let me check it out. So he checked it out. Well, it turns out that because I was in Army of Darkness with Sam Raimi, I was part of the Universal family, and so they could make allowances for me to be Chop Top. So they gave me some extra money to, have my buddy Todd Bates make me up as Chop Top. And so I emceed the show as Chop Top outdoors on a little stage, like shorter than this one. And one of the recipients of the Igor Award, which was a little demon, I don't know, holding a harp or something. I don't know what it was. It had wings. It was like a little something.
I think it was the first.
Yeah,
it was the first award.
It was an ugly little thing. But anyway, and one of the recipients was Rob Zombie, and I knew that he was coming, and I had told my then 13-year-old daughter. And so she came along with her little buddy, and that gave me a lot of dad cred. As I'm going, hey, lick my plate, and the two little girls are waiting for Rob Zombie. And Rob comes out, and he goes, man, if you told me that Chop Top was going to be the MC, I would have said you're crazy. And, so we had that meeting on the stage. And it was so funny because after the award show, and Rob, apparently that was his first award he'd ever gotten. He'd been nominated for Grammys and all this kind of stuff, but he'd never actually gotten one. And so he got his little demon statue. And afterwards, in the green room backstage, I took the girls back because they were like, oh my God, Rob Zombie, Rob Zombie. And it was so funny because Sherry was there. This was long before they got married. And his mom and dad were there, who looked very normal. And they were there because, their kid is finally getting an award. And it was so funny because Rob told me, he said, when I was backstage and I was listening to you, at first I thought, that guy's doing a decent Chop Top. And then he comes out and he goes, oh my God, it's Chop Top. And, and about a month later, I got a call from his manager, then manager, Andy Gould.
Yeah.
And he said, Rob would like you to play this, I'm going to send you a script. And I said, great. And he said, Rob would love to, if you'd looked at the part of Otis Driftwood. And I went, okay, and I got the script in the mail. This is, kind of pre-internet or whatever it is. And, and I started reading and I thought, shit, Otis, that's a big part. And, so of course I said, they said, do you want to play Otis? And I went, yeah, yeah. And so that's how I got the part. And, it was really, it was a fantastic ride. It was a wonderful experience. Gregg's sets were unbelievably cool. It was so funny, and I will turn this over to Dr. Satan here. But one last little anecdote. The House of 1,000 Corpses was actually on the back lot of Universal Studios in Burbank, California, and there is a tram ride that goes through all of these, these houses, these movie houses. On your left, that's the Psycho house, and on your right, Well, it turns out that the House of 1,000 Corpses was actually the old chicken ranch from the movie Best Little Whorehouse in Town. Dolly Parton and Sly Stallone.
That's how it's identified on a tour now. It's still there on part of the tour.
And there was a moment where I was, wearing Mr. Willis's skin. We had, for spoilers alert. So I'm wearing this other person's skin, and bloody and we were shooting during the day, and I remember stepping out of the house just to get a little air, and just as a tram is going by, full of tourists, and you hear the guy going, yes, and on your right, it's a movie called Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses, and people are like, huh? And they're looking over, and I'm there, covered with another man's skin, kind of waving at him. Speed up the tram. Anyway, that was my little anecdote. Okay, Walter.
I came in much later after principal photography, and they gave Rob 2 weeks more of shooting.
No.
No, that's not how it went.
Well, no.
That's my story.
Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks on top of 2 weeks.
I'm sticking with it. I've been telling it
All
for
right.
years.
Yeah.
But there were 2 weeks more of shooting.
Well, we just kept adding weeks, but it was 2 weeks amongst many weeks that we kept,
okay.
we just kept going.
Well, what I was involved with, it was 2 weeks, but I was there for 3 days. So I was hired mainly through what I remember Wayne, Rob just wondering if Wayne knew somebody.
Wayne Toth,
good, right?
makeup
Well,
person. Yes.
Well, when we came up with Dr. Satan, we said we need somebody extremely skinny.
Yeah.
And Wayne said, I know the skinniest guy in the world.
And then he
was
started
that.
sculpting and built the
Yeah.
whole rigs on me and all that.
Yeah.
And there was a couple weeks of that, and then 3 quick days of shooting, and met all these people in conventions and stuff. Got to know Sid and Bill and all these guys just from doing cons. And I think I was in makeup 2 days and shot 1 day, and we did maybe 2 or 3 takes, and what Rob called the TV version, where the blood was all covered up in a sheet, but who knows where that footage is. And it was like,
I know.
it was like, real quick. You go in, get into makeup 1 day and sit 12 hours and then get sent home. Second day there, you're like, go home in the morning, we're not getting to you. And then, the third day we shot the thing. And it was real quick. And then I found out it was all out of focus from Wayne, and thought, well, we're never going to see this movie. And I knew who Rob was, and I was a fan somewhat, and was excited to see. I knew about his videos and all that, so I thought, the movie's going to be pretty cool looking, I imagine. And then we thought it was never going to come out. So then, how much time passed?
And what was your day job, man?
My day job? Well, my day job was makeup effects.
Makeup effects.
Yeah. So, which is how I ended up being an actor and wearing makeup suits and working in the makeup industry. Yeah. Which is how I knew Wayne Toth. I had met him on Dusk Till Dawn, and he did my makeup and was a vampire also. And so that's how I knew him for years. Yeah. And then we ended up shooting a lot once the movie was done. I met Bill at least a couple times, or once at Rob's house, and we shot different. Rob was just putting all kinds of little pieces to the movie, and we did all the serial killer stuff once at Rob's LA house. It was really fun. And Sherry made us chicken dinner. It was nice.
Yeah, back before they were vegan.
Yeah. So he just kept shooting little pieces.
But that was after Universal dropped the film.
Yeah.
So, we kept going.
He just kept going. He never
We shot
stopped.
stuff at my art studio.
Yeah.
That's you're the newscaster and
Yes.
and Spalding's commercial.
Yes, I played 3 characters.
Yeah.
I played Otis. I
Yeah.
played Lance Brockwell, the TV newscaster.
Yeah.
And also Ed Gein.
That's right.
Ed Gein.
Yeah. There's a great story about Dr. Satan because we never had an ending, and there was never supposed to be a Dr. Satan in the
Right.
movie. But Rob decided, Rob would, he would go to bed at night, and he would think of something and call me in the morning, and we would go ahead with it. And it was kind of like that, which just doesn't happen. You really, today you could never make a movie like House of 1,000 Corpses, especially with a major studio, Universal involved. But with Dr. Satan, we didn't have an ending, so we decided, okay, she's gonna go and she's gonna find Dr. Satan. And Rob's like, I want a big catacomb. I want skulls. I want like Indiana Jones. I want a huge. So I designed the set. It was 30-foot ceilings, and it was huge. It was a huge set. And to get it funded by Universal, I made a model of it, which I did with most of the sets, but I made a scale model out of foam core and painted it a little bit and stuff. And a producer came to me and said, okay, we're going to go see Ron Meyer, the head of Universal, and you're going to have to convince him to pay for this huge Dr. Satan Lair. I said, okay. And Ron Meyer, he's huge in Hollywood. There's only four or five studios, and this is like one of the main guys. And I went with the producer, one of the producers, with my model, and we walked into Ron Meyer's office, which was like 3 times the size of this room. And I placed the model in front of Ron Meyer, and he was on the phone, and he was busy, and he's a Hollywood guy, this big-time Hollywood guy. He's dealing with all kinds of big movies, and doesn't really care about House of 1,000 Corpses. In fact, they never knew what we were doing on that line of Universal until the end, which when they finally saw what we were doing, they dropped it.
They had the papers.
But I put the model in front of Ron Meyer, and Ron Meyer, he's all flustered, and he says, Okay, why do you need stairs? Do we have to pay for stairs? I said, well, it's in the script. The professor comes down the stairs. Okay, get the fuck out of here. I swear, that's what he said to me. Get the fuck out of here. And I took my model with the producer and we went out, and the next day they gave us $120,000. Thank you, the Dr. Satan.
Was that the set?
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. We made a big set. Yeah. We did a lot of, we would do reshoots, and then we would do reshoots of the reshoots. Yeah. And then we do additional scenes, and then we reshoot the additional scenes, and it was like that. I mean, I spent that whole year from the beginning of February to the end of December, and then we went into the next year. And when we shot the stuff at my studio with you, remember we watched the Super Bowl as we were shooting. It was, and the New York Giants won.
Yeah, was that? Oh yeah, with the helmet catch.
Yeah.
Was that the hunting humans scene? Well, he did that at Wayne Toth and the makeup guys. I mean,
it was all over the place. It was crazy. Yeah. It was absolutely crazy. The whole thing was put together. I mean, it was just, you couldn't, the thing about House of Thousand Corpses is you could never make that movie today. It would be impossible. It really would.
You did more cheerleader stuff in Wayne's shop.
Yep.
Right. We added the cheerleader stuff, so we would drop that.
Rob was down there painting the set.
Yep.
That was amazing.
Well, because it was in one of the little pieces. That was where I did hunting humans, ain't nothing but nothing. They all run like scared little rabbits. Run, rabbit. Yeah, that was in black and white because that was in Wayne Toth's studio. That was we did a lot of pieces. Yeah. In fact, we did some pieces in what's the old hotel, the Biltmore.
No, the Ambassador Hotel, where RFK was assassinated. We shot a good portion of stuff there. We did Tiny's room, we did the Insane Asylum. Yeah, I decorated all those. And God, the Ambassador Hotel, I mean, there were so many movies that were shot during that time at the Ambassador Hotel.
Yes.
When I shot another film, I think before this, there was Jim Carrey. Anyway, there were like you would walk by. Jim Carrey would be doing Man on the Moon. And then anyway.
And there was a pine tree on the grounds of the Ambassador that had some kind of a crazy pine tree. It was very tall and piney, but it had about 7 to 10 pound pine cones. And so I remember there was like a yellow plastic strip around it, like don't come within the perimeter of the pine cones or you'll be killed.
You'd be killed.
You'd be walking along and you get a pine cone on your head.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
well. The Ambassador where RFK was shot, they had a little star on the ground in the kitchen where he was shot, where his head led. Yeah. And but also
you're really getting the good stuff.
But also when we would shoot, they had tunnels underneath the Ambassador Hotel connected to different hotels across the street, Wilshire Boulevard. Yeah. And so you can imagine somebody doing the assassination and escaping. Because we would party in the hotel, in the tunnels and stuff. Yeah. And Tiny's room was one of those weird tunnels underneath the Ambassador. The Ambassador was destroyed finally, but it's now a high school. It is.
With some very, very, very bad vibes.
Yeah.
Should we do some questions?
Yeah, so
we can talk forever.
Yeah, we are going for it.
So in the special features of the DVD, there's something called Tiny Fuck to Stomp.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I can. We actually convened, it was Sid and Sherry and I, and we were just making a bunch of stuff up for the DVD extras. And Sherry seemed to be very naive in certain areas. And so I was laughing with Sid about Tiny being stump broke. And Sherry went, "What's stump broke?" And I said, "Well, when you grow up on a farm and, you don't see a lot of other people, maybe, your first sexual experiences with a cow." And with a cow, you have to, you have a stump, and it has to kind of
Yeah.
Stump rope means that if it backs up and feels a stump, it doesn't kick. It's okay. And so so then Sid picked that up and started going, tiny foot to stump, and he got it wrong, but anyway, but that was the origin of that. So my Midwestern, I grew up in Illinois, so Illinois thing.
You learn something every day.
So Walter or Greg, I don't know who might know this, but how did Dr. Satan go from just a guy to the monster that we saw?
Okay, well, should I jump in before you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Sure.
I'm sorry, Walter, but I was the original Dr.
Shut up and
Satan.
warm my head.
Yeah.
I did Dr.
Hey,
Satan
you want some of this pizza?
for one of the music videos, and you can see it online. I think it's called Phantom Stranger Redux.
Yeah.
And it's one take of me in a skin mask thing that Rob loved. And I made a little set, and we'd shot all kinds of other videos. With Living Dead Girl, we shot and all kinds. And we built different sets for other videos. Anyway, it's just a doctor's office, and me improvising, and Rob yelling directions at me as I'm doing it, and they're blasting the song. And we called him Dr. Satan. And while we were shooting that, that's when he, came up with this title for the film. Like, I only have a title. I want to make a movie. Because I mean, when I worked with Rob as a musician, his music stuff, he would kind of confide and say, the music thing is like my hobby. What I really want to do is direct a movie. And that was his goal, and he pushed it all the way through. I mean, and now, of course, he has a full, film career. But we invented Dr. Satan. We joked about it, and we had the title for the film. And of course, that was kind of the evolution as it turned out. So then Dr. Satan, we had to make him because we didn't have an ending after working a year on the film.
Right.
We brought you
And
in.
you said the designs came not from Wayne, but from something else, right?
Oh yeah, the original. Well, I should say that. I should say. He stole it from this Japanese anime book. And anyway, he said, "That's what I want. That's Dr. Satan."
Man, you're getting all this stuff.
And he said, and I said, "Rob, I'm sorry, that's probably copywritten. You can't just steal that. We have to change him." No. And Wayne would come up with different variations. I would do drawings and stuff.
I've seen it.
And the only thing that we did was put the suction cup to cover up so we wouldn't get sued. But that was just stolen. It was totally stolen.
Like I told you earlier, Dr. Satan is from that 30s cereal.
Yeah, then that's probably I mean the origin of Dr. Satan, because Rob has an incredible knowledge of history of horror films. I mean, you can't beat him. He's just incredible.
Because actually, I was thinking about it because the title. I remember finding an old Vincent Price movie called House of 1,000 Dolls.
Yes. Right.
So I was wondering if maybe that was something that maybe led itself to the title.
Yeah, he wanted to do an old 70s kind of, he, at the time, horror movies were, scream movies, and they were like cute, beautiful kids, mutilated. And,
that's okay.
So he had this idea, he's like, I want the bad people to win at the end.
Yeah.
And, I want to do like a 70s slasher, like really gritty, and, we experimented with different film looks, and I fought really hard because at the time there was this film look called Skip Bleach, and all the films at that time, they're Skip Bleach, all the cinematographers, we love Skip Bleach. That's basically where you skip the bleaching of the film silver, so it just deadens the film. It looks old, but it's just black, and you've seen all these films. There's nothing. You can't see anything. It could be cardboard behind these people's heads. And I fought like mad to not do the skip bleach, and I won. And you can see everything in House of 1,000 Corpses. You can see the sets. It's fantastic.
No, it's funny too because House of a Thousand Corpses did get the plug. The plug was pulled by Universal. They
Right.
dropped us.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and what I heard was that there was somebody that came in and saw it and got the vapors. I remember that.
The
phrase.
vapors.
They saw it and went, oh, you know, mercy, mercy.
Oh, no, we had a screening finally.
Right.
At the end of the year,
Yes.
we started in February, me and Rob, and he had a script, and the script was like loose leaf papers, or like, and the grammar and spelling was like nobody spell checked it or anything. It was just this
But
weird
somebody
script.
had the vapors?
And then we went all the way to the end of the year, and finally Universal, I got the word, come in, Greg, because they want to see what we've been doing. And we had a screening in the Alfred Hitchcock Theater on Universal Backlot, and I'll never forget Stacy Snyder, the head of Universal, turning to Rob and saying, "We will never release this." and then we didn't pay attention to it until it came out in the LA Times. I remember calling Rob and I said, because I love the LA, I read the paper every day, and there was the headline on the calendar section, the entertainment section, and said, "Universal drops Rob Zombie." And I called Rob. I said, "Rob, have you seen?" "No, I haven't seen the LA Times. Universal dropped the film," and it was a really
What a great
emotional
memory, yeah.
moment for him because he thought his career as a filmmaker was over.
Yeah.
That was it.
But who had the vapors?
And then we just said, "Fuck it, we're going to keep making the movie." And we made the movie. We just kept making it. Yeah.
Well, then it went from Universal to
It went to MGM.
MGM.
Right.
And then Rob went on MTV and said, "Yeah, MGM will put out any old shit because
Okay.
they don't have any morals." And the head of MGM saw that. Kurt Kervozier
right?
dropped the movie.
Yeah.
Took another year for it to come out.
And then there's a poster. I've seen a couple of them today across the table. Maybe you have a copy of it, but it's a poster. It's about a 1 by 2 foot poster. It's like, and it was distributed at Lollapalooza back in 2001 or 2, and it says House of a Thousand Corpses. There's a picture. There's Sid. There's a bunch of different graphics on it. Then at the bottom it says a Palisades Entertainment release.
Oh.
And what was interesting was that apparently Rob was going to put it out himself if he couldn't find somebody to distribute it. And so that was going to be his distribution company, Palisades.
Oh, how funny. Wow.
So if you see those original posters, you look at the bottom of those.
It's a rarity.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and somehow, some way, I think it was my buddy Shayla Johnson who was working as Peter Block was the head of movies at Lionsgate, and his assistant was my buddy Shayla, and she came to see a screening of House of a Thousand Corpses, and came back to her boss Peter Block and said, "Oh my God, this is an amazing movie. You've got to pick it up. You've got to distribute it." Peter Block saw it, and and Lionsgate said, "We want this." And they made some kind of a deal with Universal. Somehow they ended up.
Well, Rob bought it back.
Oh, Rob bought it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, basically, yeah, they allowed him to buy it back. Once it made money, that he would pay for it. But so he got the rights back, and then Lionsgate put it out, and the money they paid for the film they made back the first day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's also, it's so funny because back then, if you look at some of the Universal movies of around 2000, the year 2000, on the videotapes, a lot of times they have previews, like endless previews of the coming movies. And there's a great trailer.
Yeah, we did a trailer, yeah.
The trailer for House of a Thousand Corpses was very cool because it had lots of people in hazmat suits.
Yeah, it wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
We did a trailer of stuff that was not in the movie. Yeah,
And
that was our selling
And there's
point.
all kinds of these crosses, and they're digging up, and it's night and whiskey.
Yeah.
And
That was one of the first things we shot. We
Yep.
shot a fake trailer.
Fake trailer. Like tip of the hat to Roger Corman.
Yeah. Under the Psycho House. It was
Yes.
right under the Psycho
Yeah.
house. It was the hill, and we put.
Yep.
I made a graveyard,
Yep.
a graveyard of stuff.
So those are called. I
Yeah.
wonder if that's on YouTube. Maybe it is. Maybe
I
it's
don't know.
not.
Yeah,
Should be.
Yeah, I remember. Well, it came out like 4 years before the film.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right.
So I would hear from people like, "When was this film? Like, we saw the trailer. Where
Yes,
was
exactly.
it?"
I think that was it, though. I think that kind of got into the heads of a lot of people waiting, and then when it finally opened, like everybody was like, they couldn't wait to see it because they thought it was like the most horrifying movie of your life, and there was
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many versions of it when we were working on. I've probably seen at least 20 versions, different, a totally different film than what exists now, and. The beauty of the film is shot on 35. It's gorgeous 35. I mean, he did go through 5 cinematographers.
Yes, I was going to say.
Including Stanley Kubrick's cinematographer.
Yes.
Who was the worst.
Yeah.
Everything was out of focus. Doug Milsom, never forget him. And boy, we fought. But it's a glorious film. I mean, they just did the re-release for the 20th, which was digital. It doesn't look anything like what the original footage is. And then the sequel, Devil's Rejects, was Super 16.
Yeah, Phil Parnett.
And then the third part was digital. So House of a Thousand Corpses just stands alone. It's just like, it's a glorious looking film. I don't think any horror film looks like it or as good as it.
And then Universal did do, and there was some reconciliation. So Universal did a maze at their Halloween Horror Nights.
They brought it back.
They did a House of a Thousand Corpses maze, and I remember I was there with Sid Haig, of course, and Rob and Sherry. We were getting kind of the VIP tour, and I was gabbing away. Oh, and I turned around and somebody jumped out and I went, ah! And it was Otis. So embarrassing. It got you with a jump scare.
Yeah. Okay, so I gotta quickly tell this story.
All right.
So yeah, Universal was planning on doing a maze after the Rob Zombie maze the year before, which led to House of a Thousand Corpses. So they were planning, they would come in my office and take all my designs and stuff, and they started putting together this maze. So as it gets close to Halloween, the Lieberman Commission in the Senate came out. I don't know if you remember this. Lieberman, do you remember him? Where studios, he was campaigning for studios not to promote R-rated films to kids. It was another censorship bullshit that the Senate came up with. So Universal got cold feet about House of a Thousand Corpses. And for that maze, the first maze, because after they dropped the film, they made a maze 2 years later after
the film.
Yeah. But anyway, this was the maze for House of a Thousand Corpses before the film was finished. And they got cold feet and freaked out, and they decided to change the title to American Nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would come to this
That was
maze,
the ride, yeah.
and it was House of a Thousand Corpses. You walk into Spalding's, you go through the house and everything. But the title, as you walked in, was American Nightmare. They would not promote House of a Thousand Corpses. Little did they know they were going to drop the film later on. But Rob was so smart, he said, let's put video monitors in the line, and we'll make a trailer, which is the trailer that we're promoting House of a Thousand Corpses. So the whole way you're walking the line, House of a Thousand Corpses, and then you come into American Nightmare. And it was all the stuff that we did for the film, yeah.
And what we did was Rob and I actually, I had brought along a couple of masks. I had like a dog mask. Rob had some other masks.
We would jump in there.
Yes,
yeah.
and we
yeah.
would like sneak around and,
Yeah.
and climb up underneath the canvas. We'd lift it up and then we'd go in and start grabbing people. It was back in the days when you could actually grab people without a lawsuit.
Yeah, I had my guts. I had a gut costume with my guts coming out, and
Yeah.
Rob would call me up and said, "Let's go to the maze, man." And Rob would put on a stormtrooper outfit, like a stormtrooper thing that he put together, and he would be in the maze like banging, and just scaring the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Little did they know it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Those were those are the innocent days of the studio system, and they're gone. They're totally gone. I mean, that whole world, you could never do what we did. I mean, we would party at the Psycho House, Munster. I mean, we had the run of the back lot, you know, because we shot at night a lot, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and you were such a trooper, Bill. I remember Rob would like send you new lines, like the cheerleader scene. Do you remember that? And you'd come in, and Bill would literally get paper. Here's your script, and he would have to memorize it and figure out. And it was all gobbledygook, you know, right? And Bill would be like, "What am I saying?" But you did it. Bill was the best. Bill was the best person to work with. I'm sorry, Bill.
No, that's all right. I love it.
Because you roll with the punches, you know.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
So Walter, as far as Dr. Satan goes, where does that rank on the makeup that you had done to yourself? As far as, was it a pain in the ass or was it not?
No, Wayne is so good. I mean, he knows, and he was also the kind of makeup artist that wore makeup, so he kind of knew comfort levels and stuff. Unlike guys who never wear anything, and you know. And so it was all very easy. I mean, the first makeup was a one piece, basically glued around the eyes.
Okay.
And then the rig I went in for fittings on that was made out of PVC pipe, pretty lightweight. And so it was not bad at all.
And you were
Very short makeup process too that first time.
And you had a scene in Devil's Rejects that
Yeah, that was a much longer process of makeup for some reason. I don't
Really?
know why. But he changed the whole look. It was a whole resculpt, and they broke the makeup down into like 6 pieces also instead of just one. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Rosario Dawson and
Rosario Dawson.
yep, and we had a one-shot take at that effect. I mean, it was like 3 layers to her neck appliance.
Yeah.
And so that had to be done just right. And he'd sculpted, you know, finger holes in the outside skin piece, so I could fit that in there and grab the gooey stuff, which stretched out. I thought it was never going to snap, you know, it was just like this long, it was ridiculous. And so the whole time I had to keep my arm in there and keep my fingers and not pull the makeup off, and we wouldn't have shot it, because things like that are one chance, if it's not happening, they move on and you're done. It's not even in it, you know, sometimes. And so I've got like, 4 or 5 large men who all of a sudden are like, "He's alive!" and grab my arm, and they're all grabbing, and they're like really yanky, because people forget it's acting usually in a scene, you know.
Especially if it's like, you know, your accountant. And
Somebody's got all these guys yanking on my arm.
Yeah. Get in the movie.
I was like, let's slow it down a little bit, and we can get this effect to happen. So then we did it again, and they stopped being so rough, and was able to pull it out. And she loved it, you know, and then got cut and became kind of.
Yes. Did anybody see that scene? Maybe it was in, you know, like the deleted scenes.
It's
of
in
Devil's
the
Rejects.
30 Days from Hell.
30 Days from Hell.
Yeah. And I don't know if he's going to put that in his new director's cut or not, because I read there's a new Devil's director's cut. So we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Bill, I do have a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
You had a scene with Walton Goggins. First off, what was it like working with him? Because I've heard a lot of people give him great praise that have worked with him. And then also, that scene, when you were filming it, did you think it would work putting that much silence on screen? And
Yeah. I mean, as an actor, I love silence. That's probably me. Working with Walter was great. I mean, I didn't really know him that well, but yeah, I thought he did a good job of kneeling and going and grimacing and putting his hands behind his head. But yeah, I mean, you know, I just, you know, as an actor, you rely on the director, and the director just said, you know, just hold it there. Of course, they also slowed the film down. It wasn't just me standing there for like 30 seconds with a heavy gun. But I do remember when we were actually out doing the scene where we're outdoors, we're bringing our little victims to the cave, and you know, it's the Run Rabbit Run scene, basically. Otis and, you know, the black and white makeup and the red robe, and you know, we all got torches, and I remember doing it that night. Rob said, you know, come on in. He wanted to show us, me and another actor, I guess, he wanted to show us the cut of that scene, and you know, see the you know, the long delay, and then finally, and then Walter falls over, and it looked great, but Rob said, this is the scene that they want me to cut out, and it was so funny because, of course, that's, you know, that was like the most important scene in the movie, And of course, they wanted it to cut out because it was like, you know, it was like they thought it was something about,
Well, she called the head of Universal called it an assassination of a character.
of a policeman too.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal.
That was one of the reasons they didn't release it.
And Rob, fought tooth and nail to keep that in because that is like the emotional heart of the movie. So I thought it was great. I liked it a lot. And of course, I love Slim Whitman. So that's who's playing. As that scene is going. That was a wonderful scene, I thought.
So I have one last question. We'll
Okay.
put it to the audience. You had mentioned, Greg, outside the first day Sid was on set. Could you talk about that?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, the first things we shot was Wolfenstein. And that's an interesting story because Rob was supposed to play the role of Dr. Wolfenstein. I was the production designer. I made a beautiful set, and it was the first thing we shot because Wolfenstein was going to be on playback in every place that everybody goes, in the house, and he's in the father's house, and then in Dr. Satan's Lair, we put in Wolfenstein, but it didn't make it into the movie for some reason, which is too bad because I do say I'll be with you till the end, and I'm not. But after we shot that, then maybe a couple weeks later, then the first stuff we shot was Spalding's Museum, and it was a strange situation because we were kind of like an independent film on a big studio, with a big studio.
Wasn't it cold too? Or was it like really cold?
Out in Palmdale.
Yeah.
Yeah. I built the museum, and it was a real museum. I mean, it had real exhibits. It had Carney sideshow stuff. You name it. I mean, and I used Rob's collection of stuff. Rob is an amazing collector, and my collection. And then we made stuff. We made fake Carney gaffs and things, and. But the film didn't, it really took off when Sid showed up and did his first scene with the cops, which was the first thing we shot. And everybody looked around and just said, wow. Sid was just, it's like Bill, when we did the test stuff with Bill, is like we knew we had, great character, great actor. And then but Sid, it was like, okay, we got a movie. Yeah.
And Rob told me, don't never waste any time envying Sid. He is the Ronald McDonald of the franchise. Captain Spaulding.
Yeah.
Wasn't the house pink, covered in flowers? It's like some lady show.
Well, it's sort of a neighborhood.
Yeah, but for a long time they had pink with flowers all over it.
The Munster House?
Yeah.
The Munster House doesn't look like the Munster House, but it's the same house, and they use it for all kinds of different things. I mean, so many shows have been shot on that little block. It's like a little block.
A beaver.
And then below that's the House of 1,000 Corpses, and above House of 1,000 Corpses, the Psycho House. Yeah. And man, we had a lot of fun there. Wow. It was just...
Yep.
Yeah. We would pull into the studio like 2 in the morning
today.
with a bunch of drugs. No, I'm sorry.
This is being recorded.
Is this recorded?
Yeah.
Okay. My mother. But no, and you can't do that anymore. I mean, after 9/11, everything changed with going on the lots. You can't. You just before the lot, you could access the lots and stuff. Funny enough, we were about to shoot the film in Laurel Canyon. I don't know if anyone knows LA, but this is Laurel Canyon is. I'm sorry, Topanga Canyon, which is out next to Malibu.
Could be Laurel Canyon.
That was the house for a while, and that would have been a nightmare because the rain and the dogs and everything. It would have been a nightmare. It was just a mudslinging nightmare. And it wasn't. I luckily went on the back lot of Universal and I saw the best little whorehouse in Texas. And actually, Rob saw it. And Rob called me and said, "Come over. We're going to go." And we went to this house. And we said, "Let's shoot it here." I said, "I don't know if we can afford it." And I went to the location manager, and the location manager basically said, "It'll be a wash. It'll be the same amount of money to shoot in Topanga Canyon in this horrible, way out of the way location location and bringing everybody and all the trailers and all this stuff. Then on the back lot, where you have the back lot, you have control over everything. And we went for it, and we got the house, and Universal said okay, and that made a huge difference in making the film. The worst thing about it, though, was the Jaws attraction, because they have the fisherman who whistles. He's whistling, and then Jaws comes and kills him. Well, that goes
He hates
on
whistles.
over and over.
Sharks are not.
So when we were putting together the house, the whistling, it drove us absolutely nuts. Because I can't even do it, yeah. No, well, when we would shoot, they would turn it off. But all the work that I do all the work before they shoot. It was a nightmare with just being above the Jaws attraction, as I recall.
Yeah, and we had, and it's so funny how many cast members we have lost.
I know. And what a great cast. I mean, Karen Black.
Karen Black was
just
lost.
the greatest.
Yeah, Karen Black.
Absolutely
fantastic.
greatest. Yeah. I went on to do a TV show. I don't know if you know that. I directed a TV show with Karen.
Good.
That it didn't get bought. And, she was so great.
Yeah, so we Karen Black, Dennis Fimple,
Tom
Scholes,
Erwin Keys.
my buddy,
Irwin's
Keys.
gone, yeah. Irwin's
the guy that
great.
played Mr. Willis.
Yeah. Who was saving
Saving
Private Ryan.
Ryan, that guy, yeah.
He's the guy at the end.
Yeah.
Tiny was so tough to work with.
Yeah.
Wow, Matthew.
Yeah,
Man, just to get him
Big guy.
in position.
yeah.
It was even harder, I think, in Devils, and at least he gave him some work. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they even had to double him in that, right?
It's so funny because I was watching the Super Bowl with Rob, I guess it was 2005 maybe, and he, so it was early 2005, and he said, well, we're going to do another one. The other one meaning Devil's Rejects. And he said, and I've got a new look for Otis. And he took a paper plate, we had Fritos watching the game, and he takes a paper plate and he flips it over and he draws this character that looks like one of the Allman Brothers. And I said, well, you gotta sign that. So he signed it. If I still have that plate, I put it in.
Great.
And I said, well, this guy's got a beard. And he said, yeah. And I said, and I had never grown a beard. And I said, well, I mean, how do you grow a beard? And he goes, stop shaving. So I stopped shaving, and then this beard came out of me. It is my beard.
It's a giant
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
it's my beard.
Yeah.
And but Otis, actually, I'll tell you, it's their hair. And Rob is a stickler for wigs. He doesn't like, phony-looking wigs. I mean, that apparently when he watches TV, if he sees a phony wig, it drives him crazy. So he got some wig, I think from Italy or something. It was like, it was the hair of orphans. I mean, it was something. It was an amazing wig.
But Otis turned from an albino.
Yes,
to be
an
non-albino.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he said, he told me, be careful with the wig because it's worth more than you are. So, and then it's so funny because after we'd done shooting Devil's Rejects, the wig was then put in, I guess, some kind of a humidor or something, and kept in one of Rob's barns or something. Because when we did Three from Hell, guess what? Same wig.
Wow.
Same wig.
Great.
Yep.
Right. Wow.
Rob was able to produce the wig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you very much
All right.
for your time.
Great.
Give these guys a round of applause.